Welcome to the Green Living Now podcast, a show that helps you live healthier, cleaner, and more consciously without overwhelm. I'm your host, Amy Tedisco, green living mentor, organic farmer, and holistic health advocate with over 30 years of experience helping people just like you detox their lives from the food that they eat to the products that they use. Each week, I bring you powerful stories, expert insights, and practical tips to help you ditch the toxins, embrace sustainable living, and feel your best naturally. After the birth of her kids, Dr. Louise Swartswalter's health collapsed. Fatigue, panic attacks, and a long list of diagnoses that no doctor could explain. What finally helped? Discover how pesticide exposure, mercury fillings, and hidden trauma led her to create the BRAIN brain system, a powerful method for rewiring the brain and the soul. Plus, she takes me through a deeply personal demo session that I'm still thinking about. Let's get to it. Dr. Louise, welcome to the Green Living Now podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited to be with you today. Thank you, Amy.
Oh, my pleasure. I can't wait to hear your story. So I know you're a naturopath, and I would love for you to just expand a little bit and tell us who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Well, today I work with the brain and the soul. So I figured out a way to connect the brain and the soul. And it's really from my own story. I got super sick after my kids were born. I was living in Illinois. I ended up on oxygen. I had fatigue. Doctors didn't know, Amy. I had all those labels. I had like fibromyalgia, MS, chronic fatigue. I mean, it was just a bunch of labels, and medical wasn't helping me. What I knew was I was incredibly fatigued. I was depressed. I was having panic attacks. And I would really just wanted to be a mom to my kids. And no one could figure it out. So I ended up with, chiropractic and acupuncture and trying to research things and changing my diet and all of that stuff that we do. But It took a long time. It actually took me 16 years. And on that journey, I discovered that no, we're whole people. We're not just a physical body, that we've got to work with the emotions. I mean, I started the Grateful Journal because Oprah Winfrey said you're supposed to do that, right? I mean, I did stuff like that. But I ended up becoming a pesticide activist because I'd end up on oxygen when they were spraying for mosquitoes in our neighborhood.
Oof.
And that was after a dentist took out all my mercury fillings in one day.
Oh my gosh. Did
So
they do that in the proper way where they do the mouth dam so it doesn't go
he
running
did.
throughout your body?
He did, and even gave me homeopathics. But I was
Oh
so
my.
sick to begin with that it was not the right thing to do. And he should have done a
Right.
quadrant at a time, right? So
Oh,
it just loaded my body up with dental materials and chemicals, and as well as the mercury.
yeah.
And so I crashed. I remember having fingertips that would tingle. I couldn't be around electricity. I was out, man. And so I slept on 7 cotton blankets on the floor in the family room. That was the only place my body could rest. A couple of years later, I found out that when I had somebody come around with a Gauss meter, that
Mm.
actually I was sensitive to all the electricity, and certain outlets in my whole house would give off more of that voltage. And the place I
Oh,
found that my body could rest had the least
oh, interesting.
amount of that, problem right there.
Yeah.
So, yes, I learned a lot. So, I probably was one of the first people, I'm glad I'm talking to you, that knew about gluten-free before it was
Right.
even a thing.
So let me just ask you, so all this illness happened after you had two children.
I had 2 children and I had a lot of fatigue. And then,
Okay.
really, after the dentist took out all the mercury, that's when I
That's when
reversed.
things were okay. So your understanding of what happened when you had those mercury fillings released or
Mhm.
basically removed, but I guess to some extent released into your system, even though they did the proper protocols?
Yes, yes.
Ah,
I was too sick to begin with.
removed. Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so you hadn't had any of these symptoms prior to your children being born.
No, no.
Wow. So it sounds like those fillings removed was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So I keep
Exactly.
talking to people like you who have had these kind of
Mhm.
extreme conditions where I talked to a woman who, when she was 24, her big straw that broke the camel's back was mold in this rental apartment where they were living. And that was the thing that sent her over the edge. And same thing as you, went to all the doctors. Nobody looked at her as a whole person. Nobody even asked her if there was mold in her living space, much less
Right.
anything else to do with her life, right? So they sent
Mhm.
people to different specialists. You get prescribed medication, which, gets you in the whole hamster wheel. Wow. Okay. So how did you come up with the gluten connection?
Well, I ended up having to do, the gluten-free, dairy-free. I found an
Wow.
osteopathic doctor, which today would have been maybe a functional medicine doctor. They didn't have them
Mhm.
then.
Right.
And he tested my body and found out I had a lot of sensitivities to things and then put me on different protocols of vitamins. And so that's when I was
Mm.
first learning all about, different supplements and vitamins and stuff. And so I went gluten-free and I ended up, having to cook all that stuff myself and figuring out there were
Mm.
no gluten-free cookbooks
Right.
at that.
Much less gluten-free foods or the ability to get
Yeah,
away from them, right? You had to just eliminate a lot of things from your diet.
exactly. But think about why. Okay, why do people need to
Yeah.
be gluten-free today even, right? It's because our food is just, there's a lot of mycotoxins in wheat. And so it's
Along
how
with
we
glyphosate.
and glyphosate is how we process foods in America,
Yeah.
and so that's why so many people end up with so many sensitivities today, not necessarily allergies, but sensitivities.
Right. So, an interesting thing, I was listening to a podcast where the host was saying, people say that they can go to Europe and eat the bread in Europe, but they can't eat it in the US. And he said, well, actually, that's not quite true. If you have reached the level of intolerance for gluten, or for wheat, rather, you
Hmm.
can't eat it, even if you aren't reacting the same way when you eat a different country's bread, because it's really sort of a hidden symptom type of thing. There's certain immediate symptoms that you get from a gluten intolerance, but there's something else, and I forget the name of it. It was something I hadn't heard of before that is the trigger for wheat. And so you have to actually test yourself to find out that you are wheat intolerant. So I thought that was fascinating because I had heard that anecdotally a lot, that people, when they eat,
Hmm.
bread or different foods, even in other countries, that they don't seem to have the same reaction. So, huh. So you did basically elimination diets to kind of figure out
Hmm.
what worked for you and what didn't, right?
Yeah, and I put a food rotation diet together for my family. So we
Oh,
had red days, blue days, yellow days, and green days. So I had a
okay.
whole little diet together for my family. So that was one of the things we did. I also took all the chemicals out of my house, so I went back to cleaning with vinegar and water and borax. And I always say it's going back to what great great grandma did,
Exactly.
you
Before the
know?
advent of all these petrochemicals.
Yes, and so we went
Yeah.
back to sort of just the basics, if you will.
Yeah.
And I raised my kids that way, and they're in their 30s now, and they kind of follow, they went off the bandwagon for a while in college and, they did their
Yeah.
thing, right? But they came back, right? They came back
That's
to
awesome.
what we learned. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
an interesting experience I had yesterday was very related to what you're talking about, going back to the basics like vinegar and baking soda, borax, that sort of thing. I was supposed to be on a panel for a big food ingredient expo that's like this global food thing. And we had this kind of getting to know you call yesterday with the other four speakers and me. And I realized that I was completely on a different planet than these folks who were totally better living through chemicals folks. And they were basically saying that, oh, there's nothing wrong with synthetic chemicals. They're the same molecules as the natural stuff, but it's, way more expensive to grow a lot of beets to use as coloring, and that, the body uses it the same way. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's no talking to these people. And I actually ended up declining speaking at this event because I realized it was not going to be welcomed because most of the people attending were also industry. But what would you say to somebody that would say, oh, all the synthetic cleaning products, there's no problem with that? You had an actual physical
Mhm.
reaction experience that would say otherwise, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the surfactants in laundry detergents and soap stick to the liver. So
Ooh,
they actually do mess up your liver. So we don't
wow.
even realize what's in stuff that is harming us. Get rid of the plastics in your house. Like I got rid of all the Tupperware and I went to ball jars,
Yep,
right? So get rid of the plastics in your house. Like think of what great great grandma had and did and live more simply, and you're going to see it's
absolutely.
going to actually probably cost you less. Now, people will say to me, organic food costs more than conventional food. Well, you can look at it this way: it's a health insurance policy, or you can pay more money later at the doctor's office. So you decide,
Exactly.
you
That's what
know?
I tell people. And actually, we
Mm-hmm.
we grow certified organic vegetables and fruits here on our farm, and I am hearing that kind of excuse from people, or they think it's a marketing ploy. I actually did a whole video around why it's not marketing BS, that there is actual science behind this. Um,
Yes,
so
yes.
yeah, and I think one thing that really has stuck out for me too is that people don't tend to associate any of their health reactions with things that they are eating or even household products. It's not an area that has been, well, at least until
Hmm.
recently, wasn't really discussed. I mean, I know for me it was a big shock to find out that there was even toxic chemicals in everyday household products, much less food. But I think there are people that still don't make that connection or don't think it's a big deal. And what's your thought?
Yeah, absolutely. The one connection that I'm thinking of, it's not really a household chemical, but I have people who eat organic food and they take good care of their bodies and they exercise and everything, but they're spraying Roundup on their garden.
Yes.
And I got to tell you,
Yeah,
Roundup
disconnect.
causes, I mean, I was a pesticide activist. We sued the state of Illinois. So I lived in Schaumburg, Illinois, and I was getting really sick when they were spraying, both for mosquitoes and when they sprayed the trees for bugs in the parkways.
And
And
was
then,
this aerial spraying?
yes.
Oh,
And that doesn't work. So you have to kill the larva in the pond if it's a mosquito. So
yes.
that's just poisoning people, and it was giving all the kids asthma. So, I mean, I was a young mom, right? I had two small kids at home, and I had connections to all those people in the schools because I'd been a teacher in the schools. So I went back to our school district. Man, did I ever fight with that superintendent.
Mm.
Um, and said, stop, you can't do this glue on this carpet in the school, and you got to stop spraying the lawns. So we took a video camera and we videotaped them spraying on the lawns and got them to stop using the lawn spray in on the Schaumburg School District lawns. And then I worked with the mayor because he was an environmental mayor and they wanted to take it out of local control's hands and spray for mosquitoes over the entire state with
Oh my gosh.
helicopters. And he was like, no, 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 we need to have control in our own town, what we do. And I was so grateful that he took that stand, right? So
Yes.
we got petitions signed and everything, and we won, and they used ladybugs on the parkways.
Oh, cool. That's
I know,
great.
it was really good. So, you don't think one person, I was so sick at that time, Amy. I was just
And you still
angry.
did all this
I
activism.
was just angry. Okay. I was like an angry housewife teacher person on a mission
Yeah. Well, good
because
for you. That's
because
incredible.
I did not want to see them poisoning people anymore
Totally.
or our children because I'd get calls. We had 14 articles in the paper, Chicago Tribune, and I'd get calls from moms and different people, and they'd be like, my child just had an asthma attack. He was playing on my neighbor's lawn. There was a little sign in the lawn. They sprayed it. What do you think? And so I would just get calls. I still remember this one. There was a woman who called me. She lived across from a golf course. And she said, I read your article in the paper and I've had 3 miscarriages. And I'm wondering if it's connected to what you're talking about here. And I said, probably is. She goes, well, I live across from a golf course. And I'm
Oh my
like, oh,
gosh.
I'm so sorry. I said, you know what? You're going to have to move. And I mean, I was just bold and said that to her.
No, you're absolutely right. They're not going to change their
And
practices.
and she said, oh, my husband is going to go for that because we just renovated our house. We just spent all this money on our house. And I said, I'm so sorry.
Mm.
And then the positive turn on this story is I moved to Taos, New Mexico to be away from pesticides, herbicides, and, the mountains of New Mexico, clean air, all that stuff. Kind of funky place. But hey, I took my family out there. Well, about a year later, after I'd been there for a year, she found me, called me, and said, I just had to find you and thank you because I moved in with my mom and we have a healthy baby boy now.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So you totally impacted her life in a positive way, amongst
Yeah,
many
and
others.
I mean, what she went out of her way, right? To,
Yeah.
to call me. So yeah, I have lots of stories. I have a
Wow.
lot.
Well,
Yeah.
let's move into the direction of what you're currently working on. So you do work on well, you have a thing called BRAIN, which stands for,
Yes, yes. And
tell
so
us.
out of all of this, right? So out of all this, first I became the naturopath, then I ended up in the world of biofeedback, and then I created a whole system and it spells brain. And so B is body. And so that's what you and I are talking about. Take
Right.
care of your bodies, eat healthy, get good sleep, all that stuff that you hear about. And then R is releasing. We have to release the mental chatter and the emotional baggage and the traumas. And I see the traumas energetically as they get stuck in the spaces of the brain.
About that. What do you mean you see the trauma?
Well,
How does that show up for you?
I'm an intuitive now. Like I think I went
Oh.
through not just like life changes or like lifestyle changes, but I don't know. I was like
Well,
a
it
new
sounds like you
awakening.
tapped into a deeper skill set that maybe you weren't aware of.
Yeah, it's like you reinvent yourself when you go through all
Hmm.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm like a medical intuitive and I can teach people this now, and I do. I'm
Wow.
certifying coaches in this. And what I figured out was we have to clear those traumas that are stuck in the spaces of the brain. The doctor that did the work on this, that you might be or your listeners might be familiar with, is Dr. Hamer. It's Hamer. And he was a German doctor that discovered
Yeah,
that
that sounds
trauma
familiar.
causes illness. His story was his son died at 17, at
Ooh.
age 17, and I think he was shot. I think it was a sad, sad story. And so he ended up with testicular cancer 3 months later. He was a
Oh.
German doctor working with cancer patients. He said to himself, I was healthy before. It must be the trauma that caused this illness for me. And so he started working on clearing the trauma. And he did SPECT scans of the brain. So he took pictures of brains before and after. And
Yeah.
what he would find is the trauma caused a lesion in the brain. Lisa came to my event, one of his doctors, but
Oh.
the trauma gets stuck in it and it causes a lesion. And he took pictures of that. And then they would treat for the trauma and, help people get over that. And then they take pictures again and the lesion would be gone.
Wow. So how does one, and I've heard various different techniques that people have talked about, but how do you work on releasing the trauma? Like, how do you help people release those traumas?
I intuit the issues. So like
Okay.
we could even do a little bit now. I
Sure.
go into the brain and I go, okay, it's something at age 6, and we figure out what that was, and we don't even have to know what it is. It could be just the words that go with that. It's kind of like the truth will set you free.
Mm.
Okay. When you speak the truth, it'll set you free. And so I clear that at the brain soul level. And when you do that, it opens up the creativity in the person and they're lighter and you can see it. You can see it, Amy. If this is a video,
Interesting.
I'll show you pictures. We take before and after pictures because people look like they've had a facelift after we release the stress.
I saw that on your website. Yes. So
Mhm.
you're energetically removing the block for that person. They don't actually have to
Yes.
do anything active to get it released.
No, they don't have to do anything
Oh,
active. And
wow.
often they'll cry. If it's something they remember and like we're working together and
Yeah.
tears come out of their eyes and they cry, that's always a good thing,
Right.
you know?
So when you
Yeah.
look at people, when you're having a conversation just like we are you already picking up on stuff that you see?
No, I have to turn it off sometimes, right?
Ah,
I mean, yeah, when I go to big events or parties, I'm like, oh man, I got to turn it off. I got to turn it off because I will.
yeah. So if you didn't turn it off, though, you would be kind of inundated with messages from everybody that you're looking at.
I get a lot of I get a lot of downloads and messages, and I'm just super intuitive. But people can call me too and go, hey, you know what? Like my daughter knows how to. I taught my kids, right? So they know
Wow.
how to do this too. And we call it strings. So it's a soul tie box where I put your goal or intention in the box. Like we write out goals and intentions. I use NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and then I ask, let's find out who or what took you away from that bottom line goal. So, like
Mm.
right now, we are clearing houses and businesses to sell. Someone just made $350,000 more on a property. And I said, I know you're going to get in bidding wars on this house. It was like $1 million house. And so, yep, sure enough, $350,000 more.
Oh
Someone
my
else,
God.
$10,000 more on a house. So now I do like a lot of abundance things and help entrepreneurs, clear their businesses too. And we had 2 people right now who have like restaurants and bars for sale, and they're learning my system. That's what they're doing, but this is
Yeah,
also part of their life. And so we've been working on that too. And yeah, it's just moving. So I can
that's
clear
amazing.
energy on not just, health things, because that's my past. I've done a
Right.
lot of that too, and I can still do that. But I really can clear the blocks and stuff that are holding someone back if they've reached a ceiling in their business,
Okay.
or a business owner or an entrepreneur with whatever. I've also worked with athletes. I love athletes too. Yeah,
Nice. You are helping them essentially clear blocks that they may not even be aware that they have, right?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And then it helps them up level their business, their life in lots of
Cool.
different ways. So that's the R is releasing. There's about 10
Yes.
different ways to do that. And then A in brain is align with spirit. And then I is integrate your brain frequencies to your soul's true purpose. And then N is putting in a new program. So
Hmm.
it's like rewiring, rebooting, in a sense, your computer, and I call it your biocomputer, your brain, right? With a program that you want to have and what you want to see in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the AIN part, how do you do those things?
So align with spirit happens just sort of naturally throughout the process, throughout like a session.
I see.
Integrate your brain frequencies to your soul's true purpose. We talk about that. Sometimes people want clarity on their next step, so their purpose.
Ah,
And
okay.
then I've also seen this, if people don't have a purpose or direction, they're not going to get there. And it's also harder to heal. So
That
it's
makes
like
sense.
you have to have a direction. It's kind of like getting in a car and you don't have the GPS on, and yet you're going to go and you don't know where you're going.
Right. You're just sort of
You
wandering
know,
around
you're
aimlessly.
wandering around aimlessly, so
Yeah.
we do have to have a direction. So finding that for someone. So that's the, integrate in the new program. The new program piece is literally rewiring the brain with codes. And I call them the success codes. My teacher taught me these years ago. She has passed probably about 12 years ago now, but it is the most powerful energy work, Amy, I have ever done. It goes 7 generations back and 7 forward, and it literally reprograms you, much like I could put a new program in your computer.
So that's interesting. So you're clearing stuff from the person's lineage 7 generations back,
Yes,
as well as 7 generations forward.
yes.
That's fascinating. Because I know Dr. Bruce Lipton has talked a lot about
Mhm.
the idea that we're basically programmed from, in utero till the age of 7 in particular, not that it doesn't continue, right?
Yes.
But that a lot of those beliefs and things that we've adopted aren't ours, or they certainly aren't ones that are helpful and enhancing our life in the direction that we may want to be going.
Exactly. So what happens is we take on our parents' stuff because we want them to feel better.
Ooh,
Subconsciously,
that's
we don't
interesting.
even know that, right? So at age 3, if you're having, I don't know, sadness, let's say,
Hmm.
and yet you're a cute little kid, you're having fun, life is good, you're playing whatever, and you have this bout of sadness or whatever going on. It could be because you're taking on your father or your mother's
Oh,
sadness.
I see what you're
And
saying. So
so
you're
it's not your
absorbing that from them.
Yes, and it's not your soul's truth. So,
Mm.
what we do with brain soul success and the brain system is get people back to 100% their soul truth. And then you can do anything you want in your life.
That's very cool. So is it possible to do a little sample to show people, like using
Yeah,
me as an example?
yeah, absolutely. So let
Interesting.
me ask you your goal or intention. So if I asked you this question, Amy, and I said, what do you want to have change or be different? What would you say?
So the top thing that I would say is I want to have money attracted to me instead of me feeling like I have to work so hard for it. And there's a deserving piece in there that is connected to childhood stuff. I know.
Okay, so I attract money to me.
Right.
Okay.
Magnetically as opposed to through so much effort and struggle.
Okay, magnetically, without effort and struggle. So if you attracted money to you magnetically without this struggle, effort, what would you tell yourself then you're not telling yourself now?
Well, I think I would say all the work that I've done has paid off. I deserve to reap the rewards from all of my efforts and my gifts that I share with people regularly.
Nice. Okay, so all the work I've done is paid off and I deserve to reap the rewards. Yay. Okay. So if you're attracting money to you magnetically without the struggle and the effort, and you're telling yourself, all the work I've done is paid off and I deserve to reap the rewards, right? What would actually change or be different as a result of that?
I would be able to relax more. I would
Okay.
feel like I didn't have to work constantly. I could really trust. I think a big piece of it for me is not feeling like the universe has my back all the time. I'm an
Okay.
amazing manifester in many ways, and yet there still seems to be this disconnect where I feel like it's because of all the effort that I've made, not necessarily because it's just my divine right and that the universe has my back and It's a mixed bag because I get synchronicities that lead me to cool things like a TEDx talk invitation, but
Uh-huh.
or almost being on Oprah, for example, and that doesn't really turn into anything.
Oh, let's clear whatever's in the way of this. Okay,
Yeah.
so I relax more and I can trust. And then how would all that make you feel? If you could relax more, you're magnetically attracting money now. It's not such much a struggle.
I would feel so much better about myself and my life and not judging myself, but also not, having other people in my life who may make judgments.
So if you're feeling better about yourself, how would that make you feel?
Peaceful, content, abundant, free.
Peaceful, content, abundant, free. Awesome. Okay. So then what I do with those goals or intentions is I draw a box on the paper. So if you're
Okay.
on YouTube, I'm just drawing a box on the paper and I wrote Amy's goals really quickly here. Then I'm putting these in the box or like shorthanding them, right? Just saying, okay,
Okay.
let's intent. Okay. And then I just ask who or what is taking you away from that? Okay. And then I muscle test a lot of things. So I'm going into the intuitive field and figuring out, what are some of these core issue blocks?
Yeah.
And so I just want to sort of ask, what is some of the core issue blocks around attracting money naturally and having, magnetically and naturally not having to struggle? Is there something in childhood we need to look at? And I get a yes. So I'm muscle
Mhm.
testing. Okay.
Okay.
Age 0 through 5, 5 through 10, 5, 6. So there's something at age 6.
Oh,
Is
that's
this?
interesting because you said age 6 earlier. You
Yeah,
must have been picking up on mine.
it's often, 0 through 7, you
Okay.
know?
That makes sense.
And so is it something at age 6? Is this something with you? Is it something with your mom? Is it something with your dad? So I'm getting this as something with your dad. What's your
Hmm.
dad's first name?
Lee.
Lee. Okay. So is this something with you and dad or just dad's stuff? This is dad's stuff in your field.
Hmm.
Okay. What do you remember when you were growing up about dad when you were, 4, 5, 6 years old?
Oh man, there was a lot of struggle with my parents. They were divorced at that point too. A lot of
Okay.
struggle around money. My dad was a pretty selfish person, and so there was a lot of stress.
Okay. So do you see how that's a core issue around your money stuff?
Oh, for sure. And just to add, for the
Mm-hmm.
audience too, I have done so much work on this kind of topic, even starting with taking the S training. When I was 13 years old, I took the adult S training, which is a personal growth seminar that was very popular in the 1970s. So this is what makes it even more powerful, I guess, for me, is that I've done so much work on it, and yet there's still something stuck.
There's still something stuck. Okay,
Yeah.
this is really good. So it's the power of the spoken word. So it's like I get the negative words about this.
Mm.
And you said selfish and stress. So I write that down. And then insecurity,
Yeah.
oppressed,
Yep.
possessiveness.
Possessiveness.
Now, sometimes possessiveness can be an entity,
Oh,
like an
okay.
energetic attachment that's in the field.
Oh, I think I know what that might be related to.
Yeah.
Because there was so much stress between the two, my mother was very unhappy when we would go for the weekends with my dad because she was worried about things happening to us and him not being as responsible as she was and things like that. So I would say
Okay.
she was probably feeling possessive of us just out of fear and, wanting to keep us safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I got lack of control, helpless,
Yeah.
fear. Is there something here? Here, I'm looking at word lists actually.
Okay.
So I have a bunch of word lists. So they give me some ideas. Trapped.
Mm.
Is there another word I need to name? Is it something A through M, M through Z, M, N, O, O? Is it just overwhelm, oppressed, oppression, opinionated, opinionated?
Ooh.
And then I say, so this is what clears the brain and the soul. Then I say, hey, was this a liar, thief, or fraud on your goals, attracting that money, magnetically to you? And I got it's a thief. And then I do like the reclaiming words. And I say, okay, what was this? Did it kill, steal, or destroy? Now, those words, I know people, when I first started doing this, they're like, and I couldn't even do it right away. I was like, wait a minute, that's like such strong words. But they
Yeah.
came from John 10:10 in the Bible.
Huh.
Liar, thief, fraud, kill, steal, or destroy.
Interesting.
So there's a passage that states that. And so we're reclaiming when we say, did it kill, steal, or destroy something for you and your goals now? Okay.
Mm.
And then again, I'm just intuiting, did it kill or steal? It stole. So then
Mm.
we say, what did it steal? your peace, your hope, your prosperity, your trust, your security, your guidance, your protection, your safety, your comfort to have, your confidence, your relief,
Lots of stuff.
and your vindication. Yeah.
Mm.
And so then we reclaim that. So is there another word I need to say? No. Sometimes I say a little clearing statement at the end of this, and it's actually called access consciousness. It's another body of work. I didn't make this statement up, but it
Okay.
clears energy. And so I just say, hey, I destroy and uncreate any judgments, assumptions, projections, conclusions, decisions about the situation at age 6 with your dad and the energy in the field that you might have taken on as your own at that time. We release that now, let it go. Allow you to be free. Be free to trust. Be free to, know that you deserve to magnetically attract money to you and to really feel powerful and content and abundant and free, good and bad, right and wrong, pot and pock, online shorts, boys and beyonds. So that's again just kind of clears it a little bit more.
Interesting.
Fearful. So that was a really important word. And I underlined it here as we were doing this because I want to get back your full trust,
Mm.
your trust in your faith, because it is that trust and that faith that will magnetize, your goals, your
Yeah.
money, your wealth, your prosperity. And so there's also generational strings, right? Things that are in our family line. Like I remember hearing my dad say, money doesn't grow on trees,
Oh gosh, yeah.
right?
Classic line.
We have to clear all that stuff. So let's see, this is 4 generations. So here, 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 here. Duplicitous.
Ooh,
Wow, that's an interesting word,
yeah.
duplicitous. I just always think about how life was harder,
Oh, I'm sure. What,
right?
generations ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
Survival was basically their big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anguish, lost,
Mm.
insecurity, worry, discouragement, fear, longing. Is there another word we need to say on that generational string? No. Is this a liar, thief, or fraud? Thief. What did it do? Did it kill, steal, or destroy? It killed. What
Ooh.
did it kill? Success. It stole vision of what you thought would be. Flow. So we're reclaiming flow, trust, protection, ease, confidence that you can do it. Vindication and faith. You can relax more and have that deeper trust, right? And to know that
Yeah.
you deserve it. Yes, God wants you to be prosperous. He wants us all to be prosperous.
Right.
Absolutely. And to have that fulfillment, that contentment, and that freedom, good and bad, right and wrong, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Yay. Awesome. So are you feeling lighter?
I am.
Good. Good. That's what should happen. And I'm watching your face change a little bit. So it's like you're getting lighter.
Oh, wow. You can see
That's
it even.
I can see it. Yeah. I hope everyone else can see here too.
Yeah.
And there's
Okay.
shock that has to be cleared. I have to clear shock. Yes. Is there
Ah,
shock in your brain? I want to clear the shock out of your brain
oh,
part.
interesting.
It's in the amygdala. This is called emotion code. Okay, it
Okay.
was put together by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And so we're just going to take your hand. You can do it with a hand or a magnet, but we'll just take your hand and we're going to go like this down your corpus callosum and say, I release the shock in the amygdala. I
Do I need to
release the,
say it out loud?
yep, say that out loud.
Okay, so I release the
Release the
shock in the
shock in the
amygdala.
amygdala. We're going to do that 10 times. Good job. That was important. Okay, so loss, vulnerability, grief, shock. It killed security. We're reclaiming security, success. I feel like you're going to get a bigger level of success.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome. I feel like that's on its way. I keep getting that intuitive
yeah.
sense.
And your triumph. We're reclaiming your triumph. Yeah, you're ready to turn a corner.
Yeah,
You're
totally.
ready to turn a corner. This was a divine timing for sure. Is there another word we need to say on this string for Amy? No? Do we get it? Do we need that clearing statement? Yes. When it was anything with your mom that, growing up, you may have, assimilated and pulled into your field or anything even current, we release that now, let it go, allow you to be free, to attract the money to you like magnetically, right? To be able to tell yourself that you deserve it. All the work is paid off, to relax more, know that you can trust in yourself and in your abilities, and to feel really good about yourself, and to feel powerful and content and abundant and free. And then let's tap the bottom of our foot just to kind of knock all that out of there. So it doesn't matter which foot, just take an open hand and hit your
Okay.
foot. Good. Very good. Awesome. Did we get that? So that's the releasing part. Okay. And you're
Cool.
feeling lighter, aren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, isn't that so cool? And then
Yes.
the new program part looks a little different.
Okay.
It's codes in the field and their numbers. And think of them instead of acupuncture points, they're spin points. So they're
Hmm.
out in the energy field on
Oh,
certain
okay.
specific points in the body. Okay. And what I
Okay.
do is I have you say those intentions. So it's like a pre-test. We re-educate with the numbers and the spin points, the
Hmm.
success codes, and then we post-test by stating those again, and then we lock it in.
Okay.
So it's just like school. Pre-test, re-educate, post-test. Okay?
Interesting. All right.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to have you say these again. So say,
Okay.
I attract money to me magnetically
I attract money to me magnetically
without the effort and struggle.
without the effort and struggle.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to have you balance polarity in the body. And this is one of the mind gems, which is
Okay.
12 little like exercises that balance the brain that we can talk about here for your audience. But
Right. So they
it,
can download this off of your website.
yeah, so you guys can get this. It's mind gems. And I do them every morning and every night. I have for 20 years.
Oh,
Okay, and
wow.
I teach all my people to do these. My kids did them through school. I remember Andy telling me, Mom, I haven't done my mind gems. I got a C on the test. I'm going to start doing them again. And I got to
Wow.
get an A on this next test. And so they're real powerful for clarity, for focus, for balance, and they'll help people sleep too.
Oh,
And we're just
awesome.
going to
Sounds
do a
good.
couple of them right now. So
Okay.
it's the right hand on the left shoulder and the left hand on the right shoulder. And this balances polarity. So kind of
Okay.
yin and yang in the body, masculine, feminine, right and left side. And we hold it for 12 seconds and then we switch. So we're going to put the other hand on top. Yeah, good job. And then let's do this one too. We're going to release trauma. So we're going
Okay.
to cone our fingers, like make little wands with your fingers.
Okay.
And we're going to put the right hand over the left side of the soft spot. So here's the middle of your head. So the right's going to be on the left and the left on the right. So we're crossed over the top of our head. This
Okay.
releases whatever has traumatized you. And we hold that for 12 seconds and then we're going to switch. So I'm just going to put my other hand in front. Good job, Amy. Okay, and then you can just relax. And then I'm going to do these points on you. So I'm spinning like this. I'm making circles and I'm going down your left leg and I'm clearing stress. And I'm
Huh.
saying 2, 3, love, 5, 3, forgiveness, 6, 5, choice, 9, 2, freedom, 4, 2, greater love. Then I'm coming down your front. So these codes are balancing the rings, the energetic brain. So that's where I differ. No one's doing the energetic brain. Okay, let's say that bottom one again. Say, I feel powerful and content,
I feel powerful and content,
abundant and free,
abundant and free,
and I attract money to me magnetically.
and I attract money to me magnetically.
And I tell myself I deserve it.
And I tell myself I deserve it.
And I relax more and I can trust.
And I relax more and I can trust.
Awesome. And then we're going to lock it all in. And the way we lock it in is we put our hands together above our head. And if I was physically with you, I would try to pull your arms down in front of you and you would just stay strong. Okay.
Okay. So it's like a muscle testing
It's
almost.
like a, yeah, it's like a muscle testing. And what's interesting, because I integrated you, if there were like 5 people here, I would be able to pull their arms down. But yours, I
Oh,
wouldn't
but
be able
not
to pull.
mine.
No, I couldn't pull them even if I got the biggest, strongest guy with me, and
Wow.
he wouldn't be able to pull them because we did those codes.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah. And then I want you to do this. Cone your fingers on your right hand, make a
Yep.
circle in front of your heart and say 2, 2.
2, 2.
I choose to succeed.
I choose to succeed.
And then tap your belly button 8 times. So that's all called like a lock, and we lock it in.
Ah, cool.
Cool.
Wow.
Yay. You're going to process too. You know what your homework is?
What?
Mind gems.
Oh, okay. And so there's 10 of them, did you say?
There's 12 of
Oh,
them,
12.
and
And
they
do them
take
every
5.
day?
Yep, I do them every morning, every night. They take like
Twice a
5
day.
minutes.
Okay.
And I always say teach your kids and your grandkids because they'll do better too in
Oh,
school
gosh,
and
yeah.
in life. You're going to process for 2 weeks. So
Oh,
it's
process from this
important
experience.
just from this experience. Like it's deep. We
Ah,
went generations back,
right. And
you
so
know?
what might I notice over the 2 weeks?
Over the next 2 weeks, hopefully you notice you're lighter, or you
Okay.
may have times where you just remember things. Actually,
Oh,
journaling would be good. Do you
okay.
journal?
Well, I have. I don't do it regularly.
I would journal and just see what's kind of popping in so that you
Okay.
can
Sounds like a
begin to
great idea.
release even more,
Yep.
you know? And yeah, I think you're just going to notice that you're lighter and things will be like a little less struggle. Just like when we start an herbal detox, though, like if we're doing
Oh,
physical body things, sometimes you have, days where you feel like more tired, or you might end
sure.
up with like diarrhea or loose stools or something. This is an emotional detox too,
Right.
an emotional and a spiritual in a sense. And so you might notice things. And if you do, just allow it.
Okay.
Just allow it, take good care of yourself, do a lot of good
Yeah.
self-care in the next couple weeks, and then the mind gems will help you process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, how cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. You're glowing. She's glowing. Can you guys
Yeah,
see this?
definitely. I
Isn't so
mean,
awesome?
I don't necessarily understand it, but it's funny because I used to be a massage therapist, energy healer, so I'm familiar with, energy systems and energy work, and I've done a lot of woo-woo stuff in my life, and I'm always so interested to see new tools and see how they work. So
I
thank
am
you for
too,
doing that.
Amy.
I
Yes. Yes, I totally get it. Yeah, so you should be better. I actually think you're going to attract some more prosperity now.
I would hope so
Yeah.
after all that good clearing and
Uh,
gramming.
yeah. So
Nice.
let me know for sure.
I will definitely report back to you in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, we have the 12, what did you call them?
Mind
Gems.
gems. Yep.
And it's best to do that twice a day. And you said it's like 5 minutes.
It takes 5 minutes to do them,
That's
because you're
awesome.
holding each one for 12 seconds. So it's like
Oh,
we
wow.
hold this
That's
for 12
easy.
seconds, we hold this for 12 seconds. And when you first start them, it'll say what they do on the page. Like this
Oh,
is
okay.
balancing polarity. Just be present to that.
Okay.
And then later you can add in your own intentions.
Oh,
Once
okay.
you learn them, so I actually put them in a plastic sleeve on the floor. I put them on the floor next to my
Your
bed,
intentions that you wrote down.
in the mind gem sheet.
Oh, the mind gem
The
sheet. You
mind
got it.
gem sheet I
Okay.
would just stick on the floor, and I would pull it up in the morning
Oh,
and I would look at it in bed, and I
oh,
would do them and just practice them in
okay.
bed. And then once I learned them, then I added in saying my intentions for the day
While you were doing them.
while I was doing them.
Ah, okay. And so
Okay.
people can use these even if they haven't done a session like we just did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have a lot of people teaching their grandkids and their kids.
Yeah.
I had little careers here. Before I was, a naturopath, I was a special education teacher and I was
Oh, wow.
dyslexic therapist. I went on and got a master's in dyslexic therapy. So I've been involved in the brain my whole life.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I learned these, I started teaching my students who were dyslexic how to do them. And I
Oh,
would watch
cool.
major changes in their brain. And then I put them on neurobiofeedback because I had 5 different biofeedback programs. And then that helped them more too.
So
So
what were some of the things that changed from a behavioral standpoint?
Oh, behavioral standpoint with
Like
this,
these kids, what were the changes that you
well,
noticed after they
yeah.
were doing all
So
that?
with Rachel, her speech and language hours that they were working with her at school,
Right?
they cut it in half. Her sequencing was better. And I did those codes with her. And after the codes, it was like her speech and language was clearer, was more concise. She was able to sequence things better,
Wow. And did
so
other people notice these changes? They
yeah,
must have,
I
right?
mean,
Because
they
if they
must
were
at
spending half
school.
the time working with them.
Yeah, absolutely. They noticed
Whoa.
at school. And she was a student of mine. So I was a dyslexic therapist with her. So the mind gems helped her and helped all of my kids. I mean, his writing got better. AJ's processing was better. I mean, I could tell you story after story
Yeah.
with the mind gems. So they're a great little first brain hack.
Cool.
They're a great little
So
first brain
tell
hack.
everyone what your website is. I'll have it
It's
in the show notes too, but
Yeah, it's louiseswartswalter.com. And then the other thing you'll have too there, we call it a brain soul assessment.
oh
And
yes.
it's an opportunity to speak with me or one of my coaches and find out what your biggest block is, where your trauma block is, so that we can look at how can we clear that? What can we do to help you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, so people should take advantage of both of those things because they're both free.
Hmm.
And it gets them started in the process of clearing stuff that they don't need to continue taking with them anymore.
Absolutely. I want
Mhm.
everyone to be free and, content and living their best life. My teacher said to me, she said, if you're not using your gift in the world, you're dishonoring God.
Oh, that's interesting.
I
Yeah,
never
because you were
forgot
given
that.
these gifts for a reason.
We all have gifts. I want
Sure.
everyone to use their amazing, amazing gifts. That's
Yeah,
what brain soul success does. We peel off the layers and it gets people back to 100% their soul truth, and then they can use that gift in the world.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, Louise, Dr. Louise, this has been so fascinating. Is there one last thought you want to leave listeners with?
Yeah, actually, you know what? I want to invite because I know this is going to run pretty soon.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to teach. I have not done this. I've done 3-day events. I have retreats. I have all that. This is
Yep.
the first time I'm going to do a half-day event.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, people can do this on Zoom for half a day and we can get a lot in. And that, so we're gonna teach those success codes and you're gonna leave feeling differently. So that's coming up June 18th.
Okay. So we'll put
And
that
it's
link in there. And so when you say teach the success codes, is that similar to what we just did? They're going to learn
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they won't learn the whole like soul tie box thing because that takes
Right.
time and it's an
Right.
intuitive process. I do want to give everyone like those beginning brain hacks, those success codes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you're a multifaceted person, which I find fascinating because I feel that I'm quite the same, having had many lifetimes in this one lifetime. Very good talking with you and learning from you. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're so welcome. I've really enjoyed you, Amy. You're doing
Oh,
such great work in the world. Thank you for
thank you.
shining your light, and getting everything out here, getting your message out here with your podcast. So kudos to you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to the Green Living Now podcast. If you're ready to take the next step towards a healthier, more toxin-free life, don't miss my 5 steps to ditch everyday toxins without overwhelm. You'll learn simple, practical swaps to clean up your food, your home, and your lifestyle without getting lost in research or confusion. Just head over to my website, greenlivingnow.com, and you'll see it right there, and I'll have it in the show notes below. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to detox their life. See you next time, and stay green.